Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And today, I love it when we have programs like this. First of all, we're talking to somebody back in Colorado, my home state. So I'm always so excited to speak with somebody back in Colorado. But we're also going to be talking about the things that I think are so important to be successful in business and in life. And those aren't the tools like website design and all of those things. We're going to be talking about making sure that your heart, your head, your soul, your spirit, all of those various things, whatever you want to call it, are healthy. Because if they're not, nothing else is going to matter, right? And so please join me today in welcoming Roberta Hughes to our program. Welcome, Roberta. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful, Deb. Thank you so much for having me as your guest. I'm excited for this hour with you and excited to see where our conversation goes.
I know it's going to be so much fun. Well, let me tell people a little bit about you, and then we will just dive into this. So Roberta Hughes is the founder and lead instructor at PeaceFull Living. As a self-care and stress reduction expert, Roberta specializes in guiding others to practice more peaceful living moments in their daily lives through core focuses that include yoga, Pilates, and meditation. And, I thought it was so appropriate to have you on now when this program is first going to air is the first part of December. And we all know, excuse me, that the end of the year, to say we get stressed is an understatement. We're trying to wrap everything up. We're getting ready for the holidays. We're getting ready to travel, to visit family. We're going to have family visit, all of these things. And our stress levels go off the charts. And so I love the fact that we're going to be talking about some various ways that not only in December, but throughout the year, you can calm yourself, you can center yourself, and really become that successful person that you are meant to be. So, Roberta, one of the first things I love to ask my guests is, what got you to where you are today? How did you decide that this is truly your passion in life?
So I think movement has been a passion of mine my whole life. I was an active child. Mm-hmm. I was a gymnast, then I was a cheerleader. Then in college, I took my very first yoga class. Mm-hmm. And from that point forward, I realized that there was something different between just moving your body and being mindful in that movement and in connecting with your breath. And that's the space that yoga filled for me, was bringing movement into a mindfulness practice. Mm-hmm. And from that point forward, I continued to take yoga classes. I got my degree in journalism and public relations. I got married at the age of 23, and he's now my ex-husband. Oops. But my husband at the time, he was an officer in the Air Force. So from 1998 until 2005, we were moving households every 3 years. Right. And we started our family a couple of years after we got married. So at 25, I had my first son. And then at 29, I had my second son. And because we were moving around so much, I wasn't able to pursue journalism as my career, because you need roots to do that.
Yeah, and people are going to say, we're not going to hire you.
Right, because you're temporary. You have an expiration date. So I went through my first yoga certification when we were stationed in Great Falls, Montana. And it was just a weekend long, very simple training. But it was enough to give me the credentials to be able to teach, which was what I wanted to do on the Air Force Base. aside from that, I was mostly self-taught and self-learning and reading books and practicing on my own. So I took what I learned in that first little workshop, went to the Air Force Base and said, I would really love to teach a yoga class. And I remember the group fitness coordinator saying, nobody wants to do yoga.
Right. Probably looked at you like, you want to what?
Yeah, this was in 1999. So yoga was not what it is today at that time. And I'm on an Air Force base. And most people at that time thought of yoga as a very hippie.
It was a woohoo thing.
A woohoo, woo-woo, like people who don't wear deodorant, they whatever those thoughts were. So I was persistent. I went and got certified to teach step aerobics, which was not really something that I loved to do, but I was like, I'm going to get my foot in the door.
Right.
And so I started teaching step aerobics on the Air Force Base and just kept planting that little seed. You know, if you ever want me to just try one yoga class, I'll do it. And she finally caved in after about a year of me being persistent. And I started with 3 students in that yoga class. And by the time we moved, which was about a year and a half later, 25 regular people coming to that class. And that got me super excited. So then when we moved to the next Air Force Base, they were actually a lot more welcoming of the idea because I had the experience.
Right. You'd already been there, done that.
I could share the story. You know, I'm okay starting with 1 or 2 people and let's just build it and see who comes. And from there, our second station was in an hour north of Santa Barbara, California, which was the mecca of yoga.
Right.
California was the mecca of yoga at this point. And I had the opportunity to do my 200-hour teacher training at Santa Barbara Yoga Center.
Wow.
Commuting back and forth over the course of about 2 years. So they were offering the program almost like a college course where you could take a weekend module and do your 50 hours first and then continue to add to that until you were complete. And that worked really well for me as a young mom. And then when we got stationed here in Colorado, we were no longer living on base. We were living in the community. And I worked at Lifetime Fitness and a lot of bigger box gyms and some smaller yoga studios. But throughout that time, I was only doing yoga. And at the age of 19, being a gymnast and then a cheerleader, my back went out on me for the first time at the age of 19.
Your body had had a lot of stress.
Yes. And I was very flexible, kind of strong, but I didn't have a strong core. So at the age of 30, I had my back go out on me for about 10 days. And my youngest was about 14 months old at the time.
Who didn't understand that mommy couldn't pick him up.
No. And I was devastated thinking I'll never be able to pick up my child again. So that was a big transformative time for me. And it took until we got to Colorado, which was a few years later, for me to start seeking ways to take care of my back. And I was introduced to Pilates kind of by accident, but I never think anything is an accident. I was managing the yoga program at Lifetime Fitness and the Pilates manager quit. And they said, every other Lifetime has one person managing both. So now you're managing Pilates too.
Guess
and
what?
I had never taken a Pilates class prior to that. So I said, I don't feel like I can manage something that I know nothing about. So they put me through my level 1 Pilates certification and my back has never gone out on me since that day. And that was in 2009 was the first training that I went through in Pilates. And over the years, I have used these modalities to help people become healthy and well. In 2011, I had the ability to work with a young woman with Down syndrome, and I used Pilates mostly in my training with her. She was severely obese, and just with Pilates and learning how to execute movements in a healthy way, she went from not being able to walk down the steps by herself or even sustain herself long enough to wipe after using the restroom to being able to do 3 sets of stairs during one of our sessions and walking for a full mile. And moving her body and putting on her own shoes and tying her own shoes. So to see someone go from being very disabled to being so capable, in the course of 2 years, we worked together 3 times a week, and she lost 108 pounds and gained so much.
Oh, so much
ability.
confidence, I'm sure, too.
And ability. So this little girl was destined to be in a wheelchair. That's where she was headed. And through persistent practice and becoming more connected to the movement of her body, the transformation was incredible. And it was probably one of the most transformational experiences for me to see how these practices could help any person that's able to move. And that's how I got to where I am today. I've just been so inspired by seeing how Pilates, yoga, and meditation can transform a person's well-being, transform their confidence, transform how they feel, how they move, how they sleep. And I specialize in helping people do that each day.
I love it. And it's so inspirational to hear. And as you're talking about, I'm thinking, now more than ever, we are just so incredibly stressed as, individuals, as a nation. I mean, all of these various things. It's just, and it's not simply because it is December and all of those things. There's just so much going on. And it's one of those things, and I think, a big part of it is we are coming off of COVID. I love it when people say we can't wait for it to get back to normal. I'm like, no, there's no, there's going to be a new normal, but we're not going to be what we were in January of 2020. And I was curious, did you find that during COVID, when people were home, stuck at home, did they go, oh, wow, this is something I need to embrace? And then it kind of dropped off when they were back to being normal again? Or is it something that has continued to be, people went, wow, I like this?
I would love to unpack that a little bit, because PeaceFull Living, the way it exists today, really came to be during quarantine.
Okay.
I started PeaceFull Living in 2018 more as a passion project. I was writing blogs and just wanted a beautiful website that people could come to and gain inspiration. That was my purpose. Then quarantine happened, and my mother, who is in her mid-70s, she has been doing yoga since I started practicing yoga, or started teaching yoga, which was in 1999. And her yoga studio closed. Other people's yoga studios were closing. I was here at home. I wasn't able to get into the studio to teach. And so as a community service, I started Facebook Live yoga classes during quarantine. So 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I got online at 11 a.m. Mountain Time. I taught for an hour. Whoever showed up, showed up. I didn't charge anything. And it was interesting, the people who started showing up, some of my old high school friends started showing up. And then quite a few people my mother's age started showing up, people who had never done yoga before. And then I was getting these messages from women in their 60s and 70s saying, I never thought I could do yoga, but my knees don't hurt anymore. My back doesn't hurt anymore. My body is feeling better. They would send me pictures of their dogs down on the floor with them. And
I love it.
like, that was more than being paid. It was such a joy to see that what I was doing was making a difference, and that people were feeling better and feeling good during a time of uncertainty when we didn't know, when will we be able to leave our home?
Well, and Colorado shut down hard for a long time.
Yes. I was fortunate that we live in the suburbs, so I could get out and take a walk every day, but I know that there were places where you couldn't walk outside your door without a purpose or a reason. So there were a lot of restrictions on people and a lot of depression and loneliness. So this was a way to stay connected through community. I was the only one on screen, but people would get into the chat and have conversations, and just a real way to connect and unite through movement. Fast forward to today, some of the people have gotten back to normal life, meaning that they're busier than they would like to be. But the beauty of what I offer is the people who did connect during that time, because I have an on-demand library, I still work with them to find the time for them to take the classes, even if they can't make it to the live stream class. So I would say 80% of my students use the on-demand library versus the live stream classes. But even if I have one or two people on those live classes, they almost get a private lesson, because I'll ask them, what would you like to do today? How is your body feeling?
Yeah,
Is there anything you want to focus on? Yeah. So the people who show up for the live class get that specialized attention, and the people who come on demand, it's still a great class, because yoga is good for every body and every movement is helpful. So
I love it. And I think, I've at least seen with my friends that many of the things that they did during COVID, they have carried forward. Exercising, walking, not as much. I mean, I remember, we used to take long walks every day, and we still do, but not as long. And, and we had the funny thing, we have a trail behind our house, which is, it's a absolutely beautiful trail. It's 100 and some miles long. I mean, it actually goes into Alabama. It's this incredibly well-groomed, well-maintained trail. It's an old railroad bed. And so, it's very nice. And during COVID, it was shut down. We could not go on the trail. And I'm thinking, and boy, they patrolled it too. I mean, it was really kind of, I'm like, really, that's what you're going to come out and do. But, and so we walked around a lot in the neighborhoods and, did a lot of that. But, some of those things that we did during those times, I think we really did think, this is good for us. And especially if we didn't go back into a real office, if we're able to stay working remote, it gives you a lot more flexibility in your schedule, all of those things. And so I'm hoping that a lot of the practices that we started during COVID are still carrying forward.
Yeah, and I'm glad that you mentioned working from home and Zoom and the flexibility of that. I think also it has created a place where people now don't know how to create boundaries between work and home. So the people who are still,
you're on 24/7.
The people who are still working from home, I find when I work with them to create their self-care success plan, that they don't even have any white space, is what I call it, in their calendar. So that's the first thing we look for, is where can you put some white space, even if it's 10 minutes between Zoom calls, or 5 minutes, or you take a 15-minute block and then go back to back. So being creative in how you schedule your time so that you can get up and stretch and move, do a short meditation, make a cup of tea, whatever it is that will get you away from the screen, because just being in front of the screen creates a lot of stimulation for your brain, which doesn't let your nervous system have the balance that it needs. So the screen really does feed that fight and flight system. Our parasympathetic nervous system is our rest and digest system. So in order to nourish and nurture that and keep it healthy, so that we have the ability to rest and sleep and recharge our bodies and rebuild our immune systems, we need to support that rest and digest system. And we need to take time away from the screen for that to happen.
Right. And I think, it people really are finally figuring out, hopefully, that they do need boundaries. Just because the boss is working at 10 p.m. doesn't mean you're going to be online then. And of course it does make it a challenge when we've got people in different time zones. I mean, that's just, things that you have to deal with. But you're right. When we thought, oh, hey, we don't have 2-hour commute time every day. I'm going to have free time. And of course, what we did was everybody immediately filled it. Whether it was with good things like yoga, like meditation, all of those things, or if we just went, okay, I now have more time to do all these meetings, and all of those things. And I think that has been kind of one of the challenges from people, is figuring out how this is going to work. Because it's, I think for many people, they're not going back into an office, whether, by choice of theirs or by choice of the business, where they're just saying, it is working fine for people to stay home. But, it's finding that rhythm. When we go into an office, you've got a schedule. And, when we're home, we're not. And so one of the things you talk about is that it's so important to have a daily ritual. And I'm one of those people that has nothing. I have no structure. I mean, yeah, I have my meetings at certain times, but there's really nothing. I don't have a daily ritual. So talk to us about what that is and why that is so incredibly important.
A daily ritual will hold you accountable to the things that are important to you. So everyone usually puts work as their number one because work is what supports our ability to live and pay our
if we
bills
don't work, we're not going to be able to do anything else
and do the things that we want to do. So work tends to be the trump card for most people. But as human beings, we're meant to work and we're meant to rest. And we need to invest just as much into resting and restoring and nourishing ourselves as we do in working ourselves. So rituals can be created maybe to put some boundaries on your workday. If you know you're going to work from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. at your office desk in your home, then schedule in a couple of 5-minute breaks. Those could be your rituals, maybe 1, 2, 3, wherever you can poke those into your calendar. But then prior to starting your day, could you wake up a little earlier? And I have a whole self-care routine that I do every morning with my skincare, and I use steam, I use all kinds of things. And that's usually where creativity spikes for me, when I'm just in this ritual of self-care, taking care of my skin, brushing my teeth. I have some movements that I do for my feet as I'm brushing my teeth. So because movement is such a part of who I am, I've integrated it into most of the things that I do throughout the day. And then once I leave the bathroom, I'm putting on my makeup in front of a mirror, but then I might be listening to some of my meditations and editing those and pulling out the ones that I want to rewrite or redo. So that's still work time, but I'm using another ritual of still focusing on me, but focusing on work. And then once I go into teaching, I'm in teaching. I'm there for my clients. I'm there for the people in front of me. So if you're an 8 to 5 person, I want to go back to kind of a typical client that I work with. Popping in those 5-minute breaks, creating some time before you start your day that's just for you. And you can pick the things that you want to do during those times. And whether it's 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, however much time you want to offer yourself, you get to choose. Getting away from your desk for lunch is super important. So whether that means just sitting in your favorite chair or taking a walk, or when the weather is nice, sitting outside, just having that true break in the middle of the day before you go back, that will rejuvenate your energy. It will refocus your mind. It will help you bring your best self to the second part of your day, so that you're not just continuing to deplete your energy, trying to make it until 5 p.m. And then at 5 p.m., creating some kind of a ritual to let your brain and your body know that you're ending your work day. One of my clients, I gave her a candlelight meditation because she wanted something to symbolize, my work day is over and now I'm going into home life with my husband. And so she lights a candle, listens to this meditation, feels complete, and then goes into her kitchen and starts dinner and time with her family. And then evening rituals can be whatever you want them to be. So when you end your work day, do you want to go do something that is movement oriented? Do you want to spend time with your family? If you live by yourself, do you want to meditate or cook a meal or walk your dog, whatever it is?
Right. And it was interesting, when we were going into offices, there were all those rituals that we had there, right? And one of the things that somebody told me, and we were, I don't know, 2 months maybe into the lockdowns. And the person told me, I don't miss seeing the people. I still see them on, all these various things. She said, I miss my commute time. She said, that was my me time. And, and I, well, tell me, and I've home officed for 20 years. So to me, this was kind of fascinating. And I don't like going out. I miss seeing people, I always, but I don't have to put shoes on. Why do I want to put shoes on? But so what she did, and I just thought this was, at first I was amused. And then I thought, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing in the world. She still commutes. So and I don't know if she's still doing this, but it was like a 20-minute commute before COVID. So she gets into her car, she drives around for 20 minutes, and then she arrives back at her home office. And she said, and then same thing at the end. And so that was her kind of way of signaling to her brain, this is what we're going to be doing now. And this is what we have just finished. And she loved it. She said, for one thing, it got her away from the kids, the family, all of those various things. And she, that was when she would listen to podcasts and do all of those things. And, she would just drive for 10 minutes one way and then drive 10 minutes coming back. I mean, it's this really pretty simple thing. But I was fascinated by that because I thought that was such an interesting way to really focus herself and focus on herself.
I love that idea so much because for someone who is used to being in the car and having that time for themselves, and then to think you're not really rushing to get somewhere. Right. So there's not that feeling of angst being in traffic. Like it's okay if traffic is moving slowly. Yeah. I'm just going to go 10 minutes this way and then 10 minutes back. And then I'm ready to begin my workday. So that is what rituals do. They trigger our brains to know this is what's happening. So with self-care rituals, the moment you start that ritual, your body automatically starts to respond in a way that is relaxed and letting go and finding that place to rest and digest rather than to be active and on and moving and going.
Right. Right. And you mentioned the 5-10 minute breaks that we need to do. And we did those in an office. Totally unconscious, right? You had to walk somewhere to go to the bathroom. You had to walk somewhere to go get your lunch. I mean, you were taking those breaks and you're still taking them at home, but your kitchen might be 10 feet away. Right. And so I love that you say, now more than ever, we absolutely have to do those things in order to give our minds that break.
Yes. And for me, working from home, because I do love to be moving, I have to be intentional about staying planted and focusing on computer work when that's what the task at hand is for me. So if I am working on scheduling or writing or anything that asks me to sit and be sedentary, I have to commit to, okay, I'm going to stay here for a full hour. And then when I get up to take a break, I actually set a timer for 10 minutes because I can
won't go back otherwise.
I can start laundry and I can start chores and I can do the dishes and all of a sudden 30 minutes has disappeared. So I hold myself accountable to focus time using timers, but a lot of my clients use those timers for self-care time that okay, I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes and this is 5 minutes just for me. I get to do whatever I want. I'm going to walk. I'm going to breathe. I'm going to make a glass of tea. I'm going to do something that is only for me. Right. And then over time, they can stretch from 5 minutes to 10 minutes. But if you're not used to getting up and taking time for yourself, it's important to have that intentionality and a way to say, okay, it's self-care time. I'm going to set my timer. Here we go.
Right. Yeah. And it's funny because whether wherever we're working, we do get caught up in things. I'll be working on projects and I'll realize, oh my gosh, I have not moved from this chair for 3 hours. And then it's like, okay, my legs are going to go, no, right. And all of a sudden we turn into the 90-year-old people that can't get up, and so, yeah, I love the idea of just setting timers to remind yourself, get up. It's funny. I have, the nice thing is it's very quiet, so you can't tell. I have an under desk elliptical machine,
Oh.
and it takes up the whole space under my desk. So I have to put my feet on it. Now, am I piddle paddling? Oh, no, but I am kind of, so at least my legs are moving. And it's, one of the things that I noticed was, my joints are happier. And my, I don't sound quite so much like, snap, crackle, and pop when I get up and move around, but it is just that simple movement of, every couple minutes, just doing some cycles and then, resting again. And, but yeah, I think the bad part about COVID was when we got so used to, and, or couldn't go outside. And, it was kind of funny when you could, it was like, right. We were so relieved to be out and about. And we took what, we fondly called Miss Daisy drives, where I do have immune issues and all sorts of things. And so I do have to be careful still with being out and about. And so, once a week, I'd plunk down in the passenger side. My husband would, obviously be driving, and we'd go for sometimes 3 or 4 hours. Saw parts of Atlanta and Georgia that we never thought we would see, and now we can't find them again. But as long as I never got out of the car, it was perfectly fine. And those we did that again for Thanksgiving. Just got in the car and drove, and we were gone for probably 4 hours, and it was one of the best Thanksgivings I think we'd ever had, just because it was so kind of detached from everything and so peaceful, because nobody else was out and about. They were all noshing down on their turkeys. But it was just that time to go and do that. We get so caught up with being busy, and I think especially when we own our own business, because you talk about being on 24/7. I mean, you are a business owner, and people do expect that. They are expecting, well, you work from home, so you can respond to my email at 10 p.m. or Saturday morning or on the holidays. And I started my business and home based 20 years ago, and I learned very quickly to set boundaries. Now, did I set them with myself? Not as much, but I set them with my clients. And I told them, I said, I work basically 9 to 5. If there's an emergency, yes, we do some of that. But, if you need me to work an evening, a weekend, a holiday, more than happy to, but it will cost you double. And I tell you what, they discovered, whatever it wasn't really that big of an emergency, and so it's funny, but, like I said, I set that boundary with them, but I didn't follow it. I would still be working at 10 o'clock at night and doing those things. And so, to me, that is, I think, one of the biggest challenges as a business owner is to truly say, we're doing this now, and then we're done. And then we're going to do this. People who talk about a work-life balance, I laugh at, because to me, balance is 50-50, right? And it's never going to be 50-50. But really setting those things and being, as you say, mindful about it, and setting it as a ritual. Sure, there's times where, things don't work out the way you want to, but, to know, okay, you know what, the computer goes off at 5. Mm-hmm. All of those things. And so I love, that having and giving yourself permission maybe to do that. And I think that might be one of the challenges. So when you have somebody who says, Roberta, I can't, what do you tell them?
I haven't ever said, normally my biggest pushback is I don't have the time.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Nobody has ever told me I can't do it. Mm-hmm. It's, well, I need to be there for that person, and I need to do this, and I need to do that. And what I say is, you can't afford not to take this time for you. It sounds like, Deb, you've had your own health journey. And at some point, if illness comes in, if life happens, if an injury happens, and we no longer have the ability, it makes us slow down. Even people who got COVID prior to just these last couple of years,
Mhm.
it could be really debilitating and you
Mhm.
could be down for
Mhm.
a very long time.
Right.
So if you want a healthy immune system, if you
Mhm.
want to be able to choose how you spend your time
Mhm.
and to be productive and to be successful,
Mhm.
then you need to invest time in your
Mhm.
self-care as well.
Right.
If you leave that spot at the very bottom of your list, you're going to get depleted,
Mhm.
which invites illness, which
Right.
invites injury, which invites stress, which
Mhm.
invites anxiety and
Mhm.
mental health and emotional health. All of that goes
Mhm.
down with it. So to keep things in harmony, I don't use the word balance, but
Mhm.
harmony, there needs to be an ebb and a flow of
Mhm.
where we exert our energy.
Mhm.
And inserting time into your workday for yourself will keep your system going longer,
Mhm.
just like putting gas in your car
Right.
keeps your car going,
Mhm.
right? If you forget to do it or you push it to the very end,
Mhm.
sometimes
You
you're
could be
that person
walking.
on the side of the road walking to the
Mhm.
gas station, trying to fill your little bucket or hoping that you could buy a little bucket
Mhm.
to
Right.
then go and fill your car.
Mhm.
So it creates more problems in the
Mhm.
long run. And the value of time invested just a
Mhm.
little bit throughout the day will become a
Mhm.
long-term life investment that
Mhm.
keeps you successful and
Right.
productive and doing all of the things that you like to do and want
Mhm.
to do and need to do.
Right. And one of the things I discovered and I mean, this was not until, the last 5, 6 years to really pay attention to what your body is telling you.
Yes.
And now granted with me, I mean, there are times where when my body says it's time to rest, it's like now. And part of it, and some of it is, the a pain level will spike, so okay, we're not doing anything more until I have sat and relaxed for a while or taken a nap or things like that. And one of the things I think about is, why did I have to get sick in order to do this? And if I'd been doing it all along, who knows what would have happened? But yeah, when as you said, when we're forced to pay attention to it, then we are paying attention to it. And sometimes, I mean, sometimes we keep going, right? And that's where you truly have issues. Is when you think, I can do it. Just a little bit more, just a little bit, and then thud.
Yes.
But yeah, it is a challenge. And I always tell people, listen to your bodies when they're saying don't do it. There's a reason for that.
hmm Yeah, especially when you're feeling exhausted
Mm.
and run down and worn out, just exhaustion alone puts so much
Mhm.
wear and tear on our
Right.
systems.
Hmm.
And getting some rest, taking a day off,
Hmm.
giving yourself permission to
Hmm.
take that time, and learning how to incorporate it into your workday is really
Hmm.
the first step to take and the easiest step to take,
Hmm.
but the least thought about step to
Hmm.
take.
Right.
People don't put that at the top of their minds.
Hmm.
And what I say to most of my clients is, why would you cancel on yourself and
Hmm.
not cancel on a client?
Right.
Because money and health
Hmm.
are valuable. Both
Hmm.
are valuable.
Hmm.
So if you don't have your health, you can't show up for that
Right.
client anyway.
Hmm.
And when they start to look at it from that
Hmm.
perspective, that they're doing what they need to do
Hmm.
to have longevity, to have the ability to do business in the way that they need to and want
Hmm.
to and love to,
Hmm.
then they start finding the time.
Hmm. Right. And I think, especially with, the women that I talk to, it is more of a challenge for us because we're taking care of everybody else. And
Yes.
that, I think, was probably one of the biggest challenges with COVID, was all of a sudden you had your kids and your spouse and, and maybe other people. I mean, a lot of people ended up with, say, a parent who had to move in, all of these things. And everybody was so busy taking care of them that they didn't take care of themselves. And I mean, COVID certainly is not the unique cause of that. We've seen that for years, where, mom can't get sick because the world will stop, right?
Yes. And mom puts herself at the bottom of
Hmm.
the list and just keeps going and
Hmm.
going and going until she can't go anymore.
Right. And what I love is that what you talk about it's not saying, okay, you're going to take a 4-hour break. You're going to take a
Mhm.
5-minute break,
Mhm.
and so then it's like, oh, that's kind of doable. And so I saw one of the things on your website that you talk about is the 5-minute corporate break. So when and I don't care if we're corporate, if we're, whatever, and I'm going to talk about, calming our minds as a separate conversation, because clearly my mind goes 900 million miles an hour. But what do we do during that 5 minutes? And obviously it varies by person, but what are some things that you can help people with?
Yeah, so I've actually created, they're called Zen breaks,
Mm-hmm.
and they're anywhere from 2 minutes to 7 minutes long. So I always say carve out 5 minutes of time and set your timer, and you have many options available to you. You can just stand up or stay seated, push play and listen, and it will guide you through some breathing exercises, some visualizations, just a short meditation to reset your focus and your mind.
Mm-hmm.
I also, on my Instagram, do quite a few Wellness Wednesday segments that have simple movements of just stretching the neck, standing up and, letting go of tension from the shoulders. So all kinds of things that you can do. Most of my clients love the Zen breaks because they are solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, working from home for corporations. Those are the 3 typical clients that I work with. And the Zen breaks are kind of their way of getting through the day. So they'll just get the playlist from me. So I meet with each person individually when they become a member of my community and create a self-care success plan for them. On our first call, I just get to know what the rhythm of their day looks like and where things could fit in. And then I send them the videos and the links to those videos. So all they have to do is open their plan, click and go, and it's simple and easy.
I love it. So it's not one size fits all. It truly is
No.
personalized.
Yes. That's what I love, the part about personalizing for each person, because there's more than 150 videos on my site. And I know just whenever I open up Netflix, how overwhelming it is for me to choose
I
a
know.
movie.
And all you do is you spend 5 minutes going title, 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 title. And pretty soon, now, I mean, maybe that's relaxing to somebody, but
Yeah.
but
I don't
yeah.
like the scrolling. So I take that work away from my clients and say, let me do that for you, because I know the content and now I know what you're looking for.
Right.
I can match you to what's going to help. And then if they say, love it, then I know to send them more like that. Not quite working, or this part's not working, then I can give new suggestions.
Right. I love it. And of course the key is to communicate with you. It's not going to hurt your feelings if they say, yeah, Roberta, that one wasn't quite, because you want it to be set for them.
Yes.
And so I love that. I mentioned that my mind goes 900 million miles an hour. It always has. I mean, I was one of those in, my report card. It's, it was, will not shut up, will not sit down. Right. And I've just always been that way. The only time when I haven't been was when I was very ill and just, couldn't move around. But my mind, and I'm sure it's this way with so many other people, it's very hard to shut the darn thing off. And we've always got this what ifs, even if it's okay, now tomorrow I need to do yada 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 yada, or rehashing, oh my gosh, I can't believe I went through the drive-through and this happened. How do we, what are some tips to get our brains to slow down, to focus, to kind of declutter?
Yeah. So a pause is always helpful. And I don't know that it's been scientifically proven, but I would bet that there is science behind it, that the brain cannot be focused on the breath and thinking at the same time.
Right.
And so let's give it a try, Deb. So I just want you to kind of close your eyes and take a slow, deep inhale through your nose and fill the body as full as you can. And then let the exhale come out even slower than the inhale, like you've just pricked a hole in a balloon and the air is trickling out. And then you're going to squeeze the lungs and the diaphragm to empty them completely. And then as your natural breath comes in, feel it and notice it and follow it. Follow it as deep into the body as it will go. And follow it up and out of the body. And be curious about how the body expands with the breath. And be curious about how the body gently contracts as the breath moves up and out. And then when you're ready, just open your eyes.
No, I want to stay here.
So then I'll ask you, during that, were you thinking about anything else?
No, I was completely focusing on listening to you.
Yes. And following your breath. So for a person like you who says, my mind's going a million miles a minute, having someone coaching you through is helpful.
That was
being guided
20
is
seconds,
helpful. Maybe. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you look different. Like your face looks more relaxed.
Well, and it is one of those things, and I've done this, deliberately to bring your blood pressure down. Where it's just that breathing in and breathing out. And because you go to the doctor, they take your blood pressure, there's all sorts of things, and your blood pressure just kind of naturally goes up, and they'll take my blood pressure and they'll go, and I'll say, and I will close my eyes and I will just very focus on that. And I mean, there are times where I've dropped it 20 whatevers, and they're like, but it's more than anything, it was that calming of my brain that then just brought everything down. And I think that's, to me, that is the challenge. And the nice thing is we're not driving as much, because I think that's kind of one of those things where we get kind of caught up in things. But we still need those times. We can't really do this when we're driving, because you might relax too much. But it is, it's even if you're at a stoplight. I mean, somebody told me one time, they said, yeah, I do my breathing exercises at a stoplight, because I get so tense when I'm driving. I know I need to calm back down. And I'm thinking, I'd probably fall asleep.
Well, and there are all different types of breathing exercises. I have one Zen break called the lion's breath. And that one is actually very energizing, and it helps to release frustration and anger. So people who have high frustration in their jobs, or maybe they're stay-at-home moms and they're with toddlers all day, the lion's breath. And then I have another one called the birthday candle breath that can help when we're feeling anxious or worried, or having to go on stage to speak, or make an important phone call or meeting. So the breath, to me, is beautiful and, again, personal. So what works for one person may not work well for the other. And then we can use different forms of breathing for different types of circumstances.
Right. But you're so right in the fact that when we are focusing on our breathing, we can't be thinking about anything else, because the second you do, you lose that breath, right?
Yes,
You exhale, you inhale, you do whatever.
Yes.
And so you just have to keep focusing on that.
Yes. So you can focus on the breath, or you can be in thought. And what I teach a lot of my clients is, now you have a choice, right? When you feel yourself cluttered, chatter, lots of things happening in the brain, you can just look for the breath. Notice the inhale, follow it. Notice the exhale, follow it. And at first, it's going to feel like a ping pong table, right? You're going back and forth,
and you're trying to make it even, right? That doesn't always work.
But the more you practice, as with all things, you get better. That muscle gets stronger of letting go of the thoughts and finding the breath. And over time, it becomes more doable. But having patience with yourself
Mhm.
throughout that time of learning is important, giving
Right.
yourself grace.
Mhm.
But most people get so frustrated by the fact that their minds are so noisy. They
Mhm.
feel like, I can't meditate. I can't do
Mhm.
this. But just give yourself some
Mhm.
grace, have someone guide you,
Mhm. Right.
use the tools that work for you.
Mhm.
And over time, your brain will start to pay
Mhm.
attention to new things.
Right. And my brain needed to heal from a lot of what I went through. I had multiple surgeries, and just all that anesthesia. It dulled my brain. I mean, I had aphasia, I had all sorts of things, and it's taken years for that to get better. And one of the things and it's still hard, sometimes because I struggle sometimes. I don't know, maybe I'm just getting old. But when we struggle, I think, as you said, that's where we have to give ourselves that grace to
Mhm.
go, okay, whatever that word is, I'm just not going to get it today. And I mean, we're getting real good at figuring out other words to say, and or you're like, I'll tell my husband, oh, just figure out what I'm trying to say. But I think that the thing that is really coming forward through me through all of this is really to give ourselves peace, to give ourselves that grace. And so do you have more tips on how we really can do that?
So be intentional. These peaceful moments, think of them as tiny seeds that you're planting within your life. And with all new things, it will take time and tending to those seeds and care
Mhm.
and persistence for them to grow. So be patient through the process and choose things that are workable and
Mhm.
doable in your schedule.
Mhm.
So carve out little pockets of time.
Mhm.
Think of self-care as an opportunity to nourish yourself and nurture yourself and give yourself attention so that you can do the things that you love to do and
Mhm.
stay healthy and stay strong in your body. Um, and don't be afraid to ask for help, because
Mhm.
there are people
Mhm.
like me out here
Mhm.
who can help you, who
Mhm.
can guide you, who can work with you.
Mhm.
And some clients just need a little bit at the beginning, and
Mhm.
then they can create their own
Mhm.
ritual from there using similar practices.
Mhm.
Repetition is so important when
Mhm.
you're doing new things, because the more you repeat
Right.
something familiar,
Mhm.
the more effective it's going to be, and the more that time will just start
Mhm.
happening on its own
Mhm.
without you having to think about
Right.
scheduling it for
And when
yourself.
you don't do it, you're like, wait, something's missing.
Right. Yeah, you'll be seeking it
Mhm.
when you don't have the time. It's
Mhm.
like, oh, I didn't get the time for that today.
Mhm. Mhm. Right. Yeah, and we do as you said, once we get those habits, then when we don't do them, we really are kind of thrown off.
Yes.
And so and I remember, and I don't know, I saw something recently that said this is not true, but I remember, this was a Mary Kay thing. I went to some Mary Kay cosmetic thing, and and they said that if you do something for 21 days in a row, it becomes a habit.
Mhm.
I don't know. That seems like a good plan to me. I really did just see something not long ago that said, "Oh, that's a bunch of hooey." But it is that repetition. Maybe it's 21 days for somebody. Maybe it's 7. Maybe it's 50 for somebody
Mhm.
else. But it is just that. And as you said, giving yourself that grace to go, okay, it didn't work today. I could not get my brain to shut off, or
Yeah.
I forgot to get up and walk around. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. And fit things in where they work. If you
Hmm.
can't take time out of your schedule, everybody goes to sleep at night.
Hmm.
And some of my clients just listen to a guided
Hmm.
meditation once they get in bed,
Hmm.
and that helps their brains
Hmm.
relax and helps them go into a
Hmm.
peaceful place so that they
Hmm.
can fall asleep.
Hmm.
Some of my clients listen to my meditations when they're brushing their teeth.
Yeah.
And it just
Mhm.
kind of, that ritual becomes
Perks
part
them
of
up for that.
getting,
Hmm.
yeah, getting ready for the day and
Hmm.
getting into a positive mindset.
Hmm.
So you can be creative in how you
Hmm.
do what you're doing for
Right.
yourself.
Hmm.
Like your friend who gets in her car and
I love that
drives and
idea. Hmm.
commutes right
Hmm.
back to her
Hmm.
home.
Hmm. Yeah. And it is about being conscious about what's going on. I tend to have the TV on at night. I know that's bad. But I am very careful about what I have on. I don't have crash bang shoot 'em ups. I don't have those things that are really going to stimulate your brain and get it going. One of my favorite things to sleep to is Murder, She Wrote, because Jessica never yells. There's
Yeah.
never blood and guts and and she just kind of has this soothing voice. And I can turn her on, and 10 minutes later, I'm asleep. But if I didn't have it on, my brain is going, but yeah, for everybody, I mean, when your brain is getting stimulated, whether it's the news, whether it's watching some television program or listening to music, right? Music has the same thing. It can calm you, or it can get you wound up. And so just think about those things
Yeah.
as you're getting ready to end or start your day, or be in the middle of it.
Yeah. And what you just said so eloquently with Murder, She Wrote, it's the tone of her voice. And you even went into that rhythm. And
Mm-hmm.
so for you, that's telling your brain it's time to rest
Mm-hmm.
because you hear the sound, you are ready, you're in your
Mm-hmm.
bed, and 10 minutes later,
Mm-hmm.
off you go.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I'll wake up and kind of poke the button and turn the TV off, and but yeah. Well, oh my gosh, Roberta, this has been absolutely wonderful, and I think we need to do this again because it's stress is not going to go away.
It's not going to
That's
go
that.
away. And we didn't even talk about holiday stress, but everything we talked
I
about
know, and
is
dealing with your family, oi.
we could have a conversation every day of December, probably.
Oh, I know, and so we definitely will have you on again. But before then, tell people how they connect with you and what are the services that you provide. Because like I said, I love the fact that, and you mentioned this, so much of what you do is virtual.
Mhm.
And but you have in person also. So talk to us about what are, first, how do they find you, and then what are the services that you provide?
Yeah, so my website is peacefulliving.com. Full has two L's, then living, so three L's all in a row. And on my website, there are many ways to participate. The easiest way is to become a member of the PeaceFull Living community.
And folks, it's very reasonable. Oh my gosh. I was looking at that thinking, oh, holy cow.
Yes, so right now everyone can join for free,
Mhm.
and then it's only $36 a month. And within that first 30 days, you get your self-care success call with me.
Mhm.
I create your self-care success
Mhm.
plan, and I am in communication with you back and forth
Mhm.
throughout those 30 days to see what's working and what's not
Mhm.
working. So it really is a personalized beginning.
Mhm.
It's not just signing up and off you go on your
Mhm.
own. I really want each person to have a strong
Mhm.
foundation. And then from there, the communication can be as little or as much as you want.
Mhm.
I have some clients who see me privately on Zoom for
Mhm.
30-minute sessions once or twice a week in either Pilates, yoga, or self-care
Mhm.
practices, and getting that coaching so that
Mhm.
they're staying mindful
Mhm.
and holding themselves accountable, and I'm holding them accountable
Mhm.
too. In person here in Denver, I teach at a local studio
Mhm.
and I teach Pilates there. But I also have live stream classes every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday
Mhm.
that people can pop into. And I have people from all around the world. I have people in Denmark, London, Singapore,
Mhm.
sometimes popping in for those sessions.
Mhm.
And those get uploaded to my on demand library. So
Okay.
80% of my community
Mhm.
tends to participate through that on
Okay.
demand library. So that's why I really make the time to make sure
Mhm.
each person has the content that's
Mhm.
going to work for them and work in their schedule.
I love it. I love it. Well, this really has been absolutely delightful. And, we definitely have to do it again because we just need to, even if it's just so that I get my 20 seconds where you calm me down.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
um, but yeah, it has been so wonderful. But until we chat again, do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
I just want people to know that peaceful moments are possible, but we have to be intentional, we have to be patient, and we have to practice. So just like with any new skill, it's possible to bring more peaceful moments into your life. And begin that journey today, even if it's for just 5 minutes at a time.
I love it. Well, this has been absolutely wonderful. I've been having such a great discussion with Roberta Hughes of PeaceFull Living. I'm Deb Creer, and until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Creer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.